Okay, let's unpack this. Poland. Based on the sources you generously shared with us, a travel spot analysis video and an updated travel guide, this isn't just a destination. It sounds really special.
Yeah, it does, like one of those rare finds, a
Mm.
place offering layers of history, vibrant modern life, and pretty remarkable value.
Maybe even a bit of a secret gem that's been hiding in plain sight in Europe.
Well, what's immediately fascinating, looking at both sources,
Yeah.
is how they converge on this idea of Poland's inherent resilience. It really stands out.
How so?
The video talks about a land steeped in centuries of history, right? Enduring periods of immense challenge, yet continually rebuilding.
Okay.
And the guide echoes this, highlighting how that deep history, those ancient castles and vibrant city squares, exist alongside a modern nation with a strong, hearty tradition. There's powerful contrast and connection there, I think.
Absolutely. And the guide doesn't pull any punches, calling it one of the most underrated destinations in Europe, and flat out declaring it a budget travel paradise.
Oh.
That's pretty bold.
It is. So our mission in this deep dive is, well, to slice through these sources, pull out the absolute must-know information, the surprising facts, the crucial insights.
Basically, give you, the listener, the shortcut to being genuinely well-informed about experiencing Poland right now.
Exactly. We're going to try to decode that allure, break down the practicalities like costs and getting around.
And share the kind of insider tips that can make planning a memorable trip, even a budget-conscious one, feel approachable and, frankly, exciting.
We'll cover the diverse cities, the solemn historical sites that demand reflection, the incredible food that promises comfort.
The practicalities of cost for different styles of travel, getting around, and of course the culture that underpins it all.
It's a lot, but these sources give us such a rich starting point.
Okay, so let's jump right into that core idea both sources present about Poland's identity and why it's particularly compelling now.
Right? The video opens by stressing Poland's incredibly rich and resilient history. And we're talking about a sweep that goes from powerful medieval kingdoms through periods of division, the absolute devastation of World War II, and then decades under communism.
That's a huge amount of history packed into one place.
It really is. It's a history marked by incredible struggle, but also survival and, well, strength.
And that's the key, isn't it? Both sources make the point that despite everything, the nation has continually rebuilt and reinvented itself.
Yeah, the video uses that word palpable. It says you can feel that resilience, that spirit of renewal when you're there.
Especially in the old towns that were literally rebuilt, right?
Yeah.
And in the energy of the Polish people.
Exactly. Think about Warsaw. The guide calls it a testament to resilience because, as the video notes, it famously rebuilt itself from the ashes of WWII.
Incredible.
That history isn't just in textbooks, it's in the very bricks and mortar of its capital. It's like a living monument to overcoming the unthinkable.
So this deep history provides a really profound context for any visit, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Which leads us beautifully to the architecture. I mean, if a place has been rebuilt and reinvented multiple times, you'd expect a mix of styles.
And the sources confirm that, yeah. The video calls Poland a visual feast for history and architecture lovers, mentioning medieval old towns, grand castles, Gothic cathedrals, and historic Jewish quarters.
And importantly, many of these aren't just pretty buildings. They are UNESCO World Heritage Sites.
Right, that's a significant designation.
It means they're recognized internationally for having outstanding universal value, deemed significant enough to be protected for future generations. The old towns of Krakow and Warsaw are prime examples highlighted by both sources.
And the guide specifically praises the meticulously reconstructed Warsaw Old Town.
It does. It's quite something.
Okay, let's talk about what makes Poland so attractive from a purely practical standpoint, especially for anyone watching their budget. Both sources are incredibly enthusiastic about the value.
Yeah, this is arguably the headline for many travelers right now. The video emphasizes exceptional value for money, stating you can experience the full spectrum, history, culture, food, comfortable accommodation without breaking the bank.
It contrasts this strongly with Western Europe.
Very strongly. And the guide's language here is really striking. It promises you get everything you'll find in Western Europe, but for half the price and with half the crowds.
Wow, half the price and half the crowds. That's a huge selling point.
It really is. That's not just saving money. That's potentially getting a more relaxed and perhaps even more authentic experience because you're not jostling with massive tourist groups everywhere.
That phrase, half the crowds, is compelling.
Very. While the major hubs like Krakow and Warsaw are popular, the guide notes that Poland has so much more to offer beyond these.
Okay.
And generally, there are far fewer tourists here than elsewhere in Europe. This suggests that if you're willing to venture slightly off the most beaten path, you can have a genuinely local, more immersive experience.
Which is often what budget-conscious travelers crave, right? That authenticity.
Exactly. It sounds incredibly appealing.
And what about the culture and the food? The sources definitely paint a picture of vibrancy beyond the historical weight.
Yes, the video is quick to highlight that cities aren't just museums. They're buzzing with life. It mentions lively markets, bustling nightlife, world-class museums, and a strong artistic heritage.
Citing everyone from Chopin to modern artists.
Right. There's a dynamic energy that fuels the contemporary scene.
And the food sounds like perfect comfort food, exactly what you'd want after a day of exploring history or architecture.
Oh, definitely. The video describes Polish cuisine as incredibly flavorful, comforting, and surprisingly diverse, with generous portions and rich traditional flavors.
Generous portions are always good.
Always a plus. The obvious examples mentioned are the ubiquitous pierogi, those wonderful dumplings, hearty soups, which Poland apparently excels at, and delicious pastries.
You won't go hungry, that seems clear.
And you won't spend a fortune doing it. We'll definitely spend more time on the food later because it sounds like a highlight in itself.
So we've got this compelling picture. Deep history, resilience, stunning architecture, amazing value, vibrant culture, delicious food, and fewer crowds outside the main centers. It makes you wonder, what does that translate into doing on the ground?
That's the next layer the sources unpack. They start with the major cities, which serve as natural entry points and cultural hubs. Krakow is presented as almost mandatory, described as Poland's cultural capital.
And the heart of Krakow, according to the video, is the main market square, or Rynek Górny. It's called one of Europe's largest and most beautiful medieval squares.
Which is saying something in Europe.
Right. Described as constantly bustling with life, horse-drawn carriages, clip-clopping, street performers, flower stalls, and the historic cloth hall right in the center. It sounds incredibly atmospheric.
And just a short walk from the square is the Wawel Royal Castle and Cathedral Complex. Both sources identify it as a historic complex, and the video calls it a symbol of Polish nationhood.
The guide confirms its UNESCO site status too, right? And calls it one of Europe's best preserved medieval castles.
Yes, which is impressive considering the region's turbulent history.
What can you actually see inside Wall? The guide gets specific, doesn't it?
It does. It mentions an art museum housing significant collections, including medieval tapestries, the former crown jewels, though apparently the actual crown jewels are elsewhere now, and interestingly, Ottoman treasures.
Ottoman treasures, that's unexpected.
It speaks to the historical reach and connections Poland had as a major European power,
Yeah.
The guide also provides practical visiting details. Admission varies widely, from 5 to 46 PLN, depending on which specific exhibits you want to see.
Okay, so you can pick and choose.
Exactly. And importantly for budget travelers, there are free tickets available for certain areas, like the Crown Treasury and Armory, on Mondays in the summer, plus seasonal discounts. So timing your visit can save you some money.
Good tip. Krakow also has a significant Jewish quarter, Kazimierz. The video describes it as having a unique history, synagogues, and vibrant bohemian atmosphere.
Yeah, it's a district that feels distinct, marked by its complex past, but also its very lively present.
And tied closely to wartime history, near Kazimierz, is Oskar Schindler's enamel factory.
Right. The video calls it a poignant museum detailing wartime history, and the guide specifically connects it to the famous film Schindler's List.
What's the focus of the museum itself?
It focuses on the history of WWII in Krakow, Schindler's remarkable story of saving over 1,000 Jews, and the personal cost to him, how he essentially bankrupted himself in the process.
Wow.
Admission starts at a modest 10 PLN, or 72 PLN if you opt for a guided tour. And like Wawel, the guide points out there are limited free tickets available on Mondays.
Making Krakow's Monday a real budget bonus day, it seems.
It does sound like it.
Okay, shifting to the capital, Warsaw. The video immediately frames it as a city that famously rebuilt itself from the ashes of WWII. That historical context is crucial.
Absolutely crucial to understanding Warsaw today. Its Old Town is another UNESCO site and is perhaps the most powerful physical representation of Polish resilience.
The video called it meticulously reconstructed, a direct testament to resilience.
And the guide expands on this, saying it's now filled with history, art, culture, and science, proving it's not just a historical replica, but a living, breathing part of the city.
And for a deeper dive into that resilience during the war, there's the Warsaw Uprising Museum. The video calls it powerful and moving.
And the guide describes it as a tribute to the people of Warsaw who fought and died for Polish independence in the 1944 uprising. It gives more context, too.
What kind of context?
Well, it mentions the 63 days of intense fighting, involving the largest single act of resistance by any underground movement in German-occupied Europe. The museum uses artifacts and interactive exhibits to tell that story. Admission is 25 PLN.
Sounds like a vital, albeit difficult visit to understand the city's modern identity.
I think so. Warsaw also has more contrasting landmarks, like the Palace of Culture and Science.
Ah, yes, the controversial but iconic Soviet-era landmark, according to the video.
Visually striking, a gift from Stalin. And while controversial for its origins, it offers panoramic city views from its terrace. So it's kind of a must-see in its own way.
For something completely different, there's Lazinki Park.
Beautiful, expansive green space, contains Chopin's monument, and a lovely palace situated right on the water. Very picturesque.
And the guide mentions a modern spot for food lovers.
Yes, Hala Kasiki, described as a funky food market hall with nearly 20 different eateries, offering a wide range of options under one roof. Sounds like a great place to grab a bite.
Moving away from the intensity of the capitals, the sources also cover Gdansk on the Baltic coast. That offers a different feel, right?
Definitely. The guide notes it was formerly known as Danzig, hinting at its complex history as a major port city with shifting allegiances over centuries.
What are the highlights there?
The main tourist street is the Long Market, leading to Neptune's Fountain. It's lined with those colorful, narrow buildings, very photogenic. A crucial modern historical site is the European Solidarity Center. It's a museum dedicated to the Solidarity movement that played such a key role in the fall of communism in Poland and Eastern Europe. Relatively recent history, but hugely significant, immensely significant. And while you're there, you'll likely see a lot of amber. Gdansk is well known for the amber trade, and the video suggests browsing the local shops.
Makes sense for a Baltic port. Any other major sites?
The guide points out the Basilica of St. Mary of the Assumption, a massive 16th century Gothic church dominating the skyline. And it singles out the World War II Museum in Gdansk as one of the best museums in the country.
High praise. What's its focus?
It's described as an immersive experience, focusing on the broader impact of the war on civilian populations, explaining the death and destruction. The guide mentions it even has a recreated street to help visitors visualize life during the conflict. Admission's 25 PLN, with a small extra fee for temporary exhibits.
Finally, the guide brings up Wrocław, calling it a lesser-known gem, described as beautiful, inexpensive, and appealingly free of crowds.
This distinction is interesting, isn't it? The guide highlights the Wrocław panorama there, a massive cycloramic painting depicting a battle from 1794, a unique historical presentation.
So why isn't it as well known?
That's the question the guide sort of poses. Is it just less marketing? Or is its charm precisely in being less overwhelmed? For the listener looking for a beautiful Polish city experience without the peak season bustle, Wrocław sounds like a really strong contender.
It seems the sources really want us to know that Poland isn't just its big names. But alongside the vibrant cities, they also detail some profoundly important and often somber historical sites.
Yes, sites that are essential for understanding the country's past. And without question, the most significant of these is the Auschwitz-Birkenau Memorial and Museum.
The video describes it as a profoundly important and somber experience, a stark reminder of humanity's darkest chapter, and a necessary place for reflection.
The sheer scale of the tragedy is brought into sharp focus by the guide's statistic. Approximately 1.3 million people were sent to the complex, and a devastating 1.1 million were murdered there, the vast majority Jews.
Just staggering numbers. The video strongly advises booking tours well in advance, doesn't it?
Yes, especially during peak season, as it attracts significant numbers. The guide adds that while admission to the grounds is free, a guide is highly recommended for context. It makes the experience much more meaningful. A private guide for a group is estimated around 550 PLN.
And practical advice for visiting.
Wear comfortable shoes, there's extensive walking. And critically, be considerate with photos. Remember the solemn nature of the place and the victims. It's a visit that stays with you, and the sources frame it as essential for understanding Poland's place in 20th century history.
Other historical sites mentioned offer different perspectives, like the Szczecin underground tunnels.
Right. The guide details these concrete tunnels beneath the Szczecin, which served first as a WWII bomb shelter and later as a Cold War fallout shelter, 17 meters below ground.
What do you see on the tour?
artifacts, and you learn how the shelters were used and reinforced for different eras. The tour takes about an hour. Admission is to 38 PLN, and the guide gives a practical warning. It can get cold down there, so bring layers.
Good to know. The guide also briefly mentions the State Museum in Lublin for insights into WWII death camps in that region, and a unique site in Bydgoszcz called the Explosium.
Yes, an abandoned Nazi explosive plant, interestingly founded originally by Alfred Nobel's company. It's now a museum about Nobel, his company, life during the German occupation, and weapons production.
Sounds quite specific.
It does. Niche, but maybe fascinating for some. Takes 1 to 2 hours, costs 17 PLN, including a guide, but no children under 6 aren't allowed.
Shifting gears again, because Poland isn't just about history and cities, the sources also highlight its natural beauty and outdoor opportunities. Poland has 23 national parks, the guide says.
Yeah, offering a great way to escape the urban crowds. The guide names a few. Auschwitz National Park near Krakow, small, but noted for its stunning limestone caves and dramatic castle ruins.
Sounds cool.
Słowinski National Park on the Baltic coast is highlighted for great bird watching, as are Wybrzeżanski, Noriansky, and Poleski National Parks in the northeast.
And a truly remarkable natural site mentioned is Białowieża National Park near the Belarus border.
Right. The guide stresses its significance. It contains the last substantial remains of Europe's primeval forest, making it a UNESCO site. And it's most famous as the only place in Europe where wild European bison still roam freely.
Wild bison in Europe. That's incredible.
It really is. It's the oldest national park in Poland, 105 square kilometers, incredible biodiversity. You can hike, walk, bike.
The guide even mentions trying local food there.
Yes. Pilmeni dumplings, Ruisko cake, Uber bison grass beer. Admission 16 PLN. A guide is recommended for deeper exploration, around 250 PLN. And remember, camping is prohibited within the national parks.
Good note. For mountains, there are the Tatra Mountains near Slovakia.
Part of the Carpathians. Tatra National Park, another UNESCO site, is fantastic for hiking. Over 200 square kilometers, hikes from a couple of hours to a challenging 12 hours.
Can you stay overnight?
No wild camping, but there are mountain huts available if you book well in advance, costing 35.70 PLN per night. And the guide stresses checking weather forecasts and bringing water sunscreen, standard mountain advice, but crucial.
And for water activities.
The video specifically mentions the Masurian Lake District in the northeast as popular for sailing. So definitely a diverse range of landscapes beyond the cities.
The sources also draw attention to some unique cultural and architectural sites, maybe not as famous as Wall, but significant.
Absolutely. Like the wooden churches of southern Lesser Poland. The guide points out 6 specific Roman Catholic churches in the southeast that are collectively a UNESCO site.
What's special about them?
They're entirely timber-framed, dating back to the 15th and 16th centuries. They showcase various architectural periods and often feature incredibly intricate, hand-painted and carved interiors. Just beautiful craftsmanship.
The guide advises dressing appropriately, right? Since they're active churches.
Yes. Standard but important advice. There's also Kalwaria Zebradowska, a Catholic monastery about an hour outside Krakow.
Another UNESCO site.
Yep. 17th century Mannerist style. What's unique is the extensive network of pilgrimage routes, over 5 kilometers, winding through the landscape, dotted with 42 chapels and churches, used continuously for over 400 years.
Wow. Can you tour the monastery?
Yes, tours are free, but book in advance, last about an hour, donations welcome.
And near Wrocław, the Churches of Peace in Jawor and Świdnica. The guide calls these the biggest timber-frame churches in Europe.
Their history is fascinating. Built mid-17th century after the 30 Years' War, they were the first Lutheran churches allowed in Catholic Poland, but with strict constraints. Only wood, clay, and straw, no steeples or bells.
So they wouldn't overshadow Catholic churches.
Exactly. Despite the limits, they are massive and beautifully constructed, hence the UNESCO status. Admission is 12 PLN, audio tours available, and again, dress appropriately.
Then there's a moment of unique architectural expression mentioned in the guide. The world's tallest Pope statue in Częstochowa.
Yes. About 2.5 hours south of Warsaw. A towering 13.8-meter fiberglass statue of Polish-born Pope John Paul II. The guide dryly describes it as a quirky photo op, if you happen to be in the area.
Definitely stands out. And finally, a practical activity recommendation mentioned repeatedly. Free walking tours.
Yes, particularly in the guide. They name a company called Walkative, operating in multiple cities like Warsaw, Krakow, Gdansk, Poznan.
Why are they recommended?
Excellent way to quickly get the lay of the land, Learn history, culture, architecture from a local perspective. Often provides insights you wouldn't get from a guidebook.
But they're free, so...
Right. The crucial point they emphasize is you absolutely must tip your guide at the end based on what you felt the tour was worth. It's how they make their living. So factor that in.
That covers the key sites and activities, history, nature, unique spots. Now let's really dive into the food, because both sources make it sound like a true highlight.
Oh, Polish cuisine is presented as incredibly appealing. And of course, you cannot talk about Polish food without starting with pierogi.
The must-try.
Absolutely. Both sources identify them as such. The video describes them as delicious dumplings with a wide variety of fillings.
Like meat, potato, and cheese.
The classic Ruski style, yeah. Sauerkraut and mushrooms, too. But also sweet fillings like fruit. They're typically boiled, but often finished by pan frying for a slight crispness.
Incredibly satisfying, the video says. Sounds like the ultimate comfort food.
Totally. Beyond pierogi, Poland is said to excel at soups. Jurek is highlighted that sour rice soup, often famously served inside a bread bowl with sausage and egg.
That sounds amazing. Unique and delicious.
Then there's rozo, the classic chicken noodle soup, a staple for comfort, and barshez, the vibrant beetroot soup.
For heartier traditional dishes, bigos, or a hunter stew.
Right. A rich, savory stew with sauerkraut, fresh cabbage, various meats like pork and sausage. The description suggests it's best enjoyed slowly, hinting at its deep flavor.
And gorzomki, cabbage rolls.
Another staple, minced meat and rice wrapped in cabbage leaves, cooked in tomato sauce. And of course, kielbasa, Polish sausage. The video suggests trying it grilled from a street vendor for a quick bite.
Can't go wrong with grilled sausage.
Pretty much. For those with a sweet tooth, poski are a must. Delicious, airy Polish donuts, commonly filled with rose jam. The video insists they are a must-try.
I'm sold.
And zarlatka, traditional Polish apple pie. To wash it all down, Poland is famous for its vodka. The video suggests trying udraka, the bison grass vodka, or exploring flavored varieties. Compo, a traditional fruit compote, is also mentioned as a refreshing non-alcoholic option.
Now, where do you find all this deliciousness? The sources offer a range of dining experiences.
The milk bars, or bar mleczny, are particularly emphasized, especially for budget travelers. The video calls them incredibly cheap and authentic home-style cooking.
The guide describes them as no frills, right? Basic decor, but tasty filling food.
Exactly. The guide explicitly recommends eating at milk bars as the best way to save money on food, noting a hearty meal typically costs only around 30 PLN.
Wow, 30 zloty for a hearty meal. That's like, what, $7 or $8 US? Incredible value.
It really is. They are clearly seen as a key part of the affordable Polish experience.
But it's not just milk bars.
No, you'll find everything from charming old-town restaurants with traditional decor to modern cafes and, as the guide mentions again, food halls like Wieliczka in Warsaw, offering a contemporary dining experience with lots of variety.
It sounds like you can eat incredibly well in Poland, experiencing authentic flavors without needing a huge food budget. It makes you think, which of these Polish dishes are you, the listener, most curious to try first?
Okay, let's shift to the practicalities that make a trip possible. Accommodation, transport, and overall costs. Both sources reiterate that Poland offers excellent value.
Particularly compared to Western Europe, yeah. So for budget travelers, hostels are presented as high quality.
The guide specifies dorm beds typically cost between 1535 USD, roughly 55.95 PLN per night. For more privacy on a budget, private rooms in hostels or basic guest houses range from 3070 USD or 120-200 PLN per night.
Campsites are another option?
Around 40 PLN per night, though remember wild camping is prohibited in national parks. The guide even names specific recommended hostels in various cities like Malexarnia and Wrocław, Obidoki Old Town in Warsaw, Greg and Tom in Krakow, Slogate in Gdansk.
That's helpful. What about mid-range?
Comfortable hotels and apartments, including Airbnb options. The video calls this price point a great sweet spot for value and location. The guide gives ranges. 150-275 PLN per night for budget hotels, 75-150 PLN for an Airbnb private room, and a remarkable 100-200 PLN for an entire Airbnb apartment per night.
Wait, 100 to 200 zloty for a whole apartment? That's really good.
It really is. It suggests significantly more space and privacy for your money compared to many other European destinations.
And luxury.
The video notes stunning luxury options, high-end hotels, historic stays, easily exceeding 180 USD. The guide estimates an upscale budget could easily see you spending 600 plus PLN or 200-400 plus USD per day. The sky's the limit, basically.
Key factors influencing cost are city, season, and booking ahead.
Predictably, yes.
Oh.
Krakow, Warsaw, slightly pricier, summer holidays highest, booking ahead recommended for popular times.
Okay, getting around Poland, options seem extensive and affordable, too.
Definitely. Within cities, public transport is excellent and affordable, essential. Trams, buses, Warsaw Metro, tickets from kiosks, machines, sometimes contactless, costs are very low. 3 to 5 PLN single ride, daily pass is 15 plus PLN, Warsaw 3-day pass 36 plus PLN.
And walking.
Identified as the best way in old towns like Krakow, Warsaw, Gdansk, lets you soak in the atmosphere, discover hidden gems. City centers are very walkable.
For traveling between cities, the train network, PKP.
Yes, the National Railway. Extensive and efficient, connects major cities' towns. Comfortable, punctual, great for intercity travel.
The guide breaks down train types, right, based on speed and budget.
Exactly. EIP, Express Intercity Premium, are fastest, newest, require reservations, pricey last minute. EIC, Express Intercity, are slightly slower, still comfy, dining cars, cheaper than EIP. IC, Intercity, are cheapest, slowest, more stops, basic. IR, Interregio, connect medium cities, affordable, can get busy.
And the cost examples show big differences.
Yeah, Warsaw-Krakow 2HRS is 50 PLN by train, but 44 PLN by bus. Warsaw-Gdansk is 2.5 ages by fast EIP train for 175 PLN, or 7 ages by bus for just 50 PLN.
So a clear trade-off, time versus money.
Precisely. Train is great if time is precious. Bus is significantly cheaper if budget is key. The guide recommends train line for finding routes and comparing prices.
Any special train deals?
They mention the weekend ticket, Bilo weekend dowie, unlimited travel Friday evening to Mon morning. A great way to see the country if you're triple lines.
And long-distance buses like Flixbus.
A comprehensive network, the more affordable alternative. Comfortable, Wi-Fi outlets, free check bag on Flixbus.
What about taxis and ride-hailing?
Taxis available, but Uber and Bolt are highlighted as very popular, convenient, often more affordable. Both sources strongly advise using official taxis or reputable apps. Avoid unlicensed ones, confirm firmmeter.
Taxi scams rare, but still be careful.
Right. Use the meter or have your hotel call one. Good precautions.
Rental cars, good for rural areas.
Offer flexibility for rural areas, national parks,
Yeah.
But for city to city, trains often better due to traffic, parking issues. Roads generally good, but be mindful of local driving habits.
What about cost and requirements?
Rentals start around 75 PLN day for multi-day. Need license for 1+ year, maybe an IDP depending on your country. Guide recommends Discover Cars for Bicking. For intercity travel, the guide also mentions BlaBlaCar ride sharing.
How does that work?
Described as cheap and fast, verified drivers' reviews, generally safe. But you need flexible plans. Drivers can be late change plans. Download the app, find drivers going your way, pay a small fee.
And bike share in Warsaw. Vitrulio.
Yeah, 10 PLN registration, first 20 minutes free, then cheap rates, 1 PLN next hour, 3 PLN after. So you can hop between attractions for essentially free on short rides.
Lastly, hitchhiking.
The guide notes Poland is one of the most hitchhiking-friendly countries in Europe. Offers tips, sign, look presentable, maybe home country flag. Recommends Hitchwiki resource.
Okay, let's put it all together. Estimated daily costs.
Excluding international flights, of course. Budget traveler, hostel dorm, cook-own, limit drink stores, public transport walk, 40-80 USD, 175 PLN per day. Need to be conscious of spending, add 10-20 PLN day if drinking often.
Mid-range traveler. Mid-range hotel apps, mix of restaurants, trains, some paid attractions. 91.80 USD, 330 PLN per day. The video calls this the sweet spot.
Luxury traveler.
Yeah.
High-end hotels, fine dining, private tours, exceeds 200 USD, 600 plus PLN per day. Sky is the limit.
Key cost drivers identified are accommodation type, tourist excursions, alcohol, and dining choices.
Right. Based on this, they offer numerous money-saving tips, many we've touched on. Eating at Bar Mlesny, Milk Bars, is #1 hearty meals around 30 PLN.
Use cheap public transport. Walk old towns. Buy groceries. Biedronka, little mentioned. Guide estimates 150-165 PLN for a week's groceries.
Get a city tourist card. Krakow, Warsaw. You're seeing lots of museums using lots of transport. 100-160 PLN. Use train specials like the weekend ticket.
Watch alcohol spending, especially in bars and party cities like Krakow.
Yeah.
Buy from grocery stores first.
Take a free walking tour like Walkative, but remember to tip. Use ride-sharing apps. BlaBlaCar Intercity. Uber within cities.
Consider couch surfing for free accommodation and local connection. Use Vitrulio bike share in Warsaw for short free rides.
And bring a reusable water bottle. Tap water is safe, saves money and plastic.
That's a great toolkit for making that budget travel paradise label a reality. Now, seasonality, when is the best time to actually go?
Depends on priorities. Each season has its charm and trade-offs.
Spring, April, May.
Excellent time. Mild temps, 5-15 degrees C, 41-59 degrees Table. Flowers blooming, fewer crowds than summer. Ideal for cities. Outdoor cafes. Weather can be unpredictable, pack layers, maybe slightly more rain than autumn.
Summer, June, August.
Most popular time, warm, hot, 20, 30 degrees C, 63, 77 degrees Aries. Long daylight hours, lively atmosphere, festivals, trade-off. Peak season, higher prices, most crowds. Krakow, Warsaw.
Autumn, September, October.
Another great time, cooler temps, 5, 15 degrees C, 41, 59 degrees era, beautiful fall foliage. Crowds thin out, perfect for cities, museums, hearty food. October can be damp, but stunning colors are a draw.
Winter, November, March.
Cold, most 1 degree C day, minus 5 degrees C night, 323 degrees air, short daylight, often snow. Can affect car travel. Highlight, beautiful Christmas markets, late Nov deck.
Yeah.
Magical atmosphere, lowest prices outside festive period, minimal crowds. Guide mainly recommends winter for skiing markets.
So the takeaway, spring, early autumn for comfy sightseeing, fewer crowds. Summer for warmth festivals, but crowds. Early winter for Christmas markets, snowy charm.
Exactly. Finally, let's touch on the broader cultural landscape, the people, and important safety considerations.
Culturally, Poland is deeply Catholic, right?
Yes, significant role in culture daily life. Beautiful churches, important holidays. Both sources stress being respectful at sacred sites, dress, behavior.
And that resilience theme comes up again with the people.
Described as incredibly resilient and patriotic, very proud of culture, language, independent struggles. Sense of national pride is strong.
How about interactions?
Sometimes reserved initially, but known for warm hospitality once you get to know them. Often generous, welcoming, especially with food drink. Strong family values, too.
Artistic heritage.
Rich legacy Chopin. Authors, filmmakers. Vibrant cultural scenes, theaters, galleries, music venues.
Language. Polish is Slavic. English okay in tourist areas.
Spoken in tourist areas by younger folk. Learning basic phrases, dzień dobry, dziękuję, will be greatly appreciated, says the video. Always a good idea.
Crucially, safety.
Generally presented as a safe country for tourists. Violent crime is low. The guide reassuringly states the risk of theft or getting pickpocketed is much lower here than it is in other parts of Europe.
But still need common sense.
Absolutely. It's essential in crowded areas. Petty crime can occur in old town squares, train stations, busy trams, Krakow, Warsaw. Keep valuables secure. Be aware.
Public transport safety.
Generally safe. Be cautious on crowded trams, metros, rush hour, watch bags. Mind alcohol consumption, don't become vulnerable.
Taxis, ride-hailing safety.
Use official taxis, reputable apps, Uber, Bolt. Avoid unlicensed. Confirm parameter. Scams rare, but precautions good.
Other potential issues. ATM skimming.
Can occur. Use verified ATMs, preferably inside banks. Solo female travelers generally safe. Standard precautions apply. Drinks unattended. Walking home intoxicated. Rental cars don't leave valuables overnight.
Emergency number is 112.
Yes, the standard European number. Good to know.
And travel insurance.
Highly recommended by both sources. Provides comprehensive protection. Illness, injury, theft, cancellations. The guide strongly advocates for it, mentioning personal experience. It's important.
So there you have it, a deep dive into Poland, pulling all these fascinating threads from the sources you provided. We've seen how it balances that profound history and resilience with this vibrant contemporary energy.
Stunning architecture, incredible food, warm hospitality, and all at a value that makes it remarkably accessible compared to much of Western Europe.
The sources make a really compelling case that Poland's unique blend of charm, affordability, and that deep-seated resilience makes it an utterly captivating and perhaps still underrated European gem.
With smart planning using these insights, you can absolutely get a handle on this country and discover why it's truly a journey into the heart of Eastern Europe.
After exploring both its somber historical sites, places like Auschwitz, and its vibrant contemporary life, the rebuilt cities, the lively markets consider this, how does a nation that has faced such immense historical challenges manage to maintain such incredible resilience, rebuild itself not just physically but spiritually, and foster a spirit that makes its cities buzz and its people known for warmth?
What can that national character teach us about the enduring human capacity for survival and renewal? Something to think about.
And think about what stands out most to you from this deep dive. What specific place, like those unique churches of peace or the primeval forests of Wieliczka, or what specific experience, maybe trying pierogi at a milk bar or walking through Warsaw's rebuilt Old Town, are you most curious about now?
Keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep into the stories places like Poland have to tell.